Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life Coach Lounge podcast. We're so glad you're here. I'm here with my friends, Emily and Lisa, and we have a great topic today, which was inspired by just a brief text message from Emily this week. And that is that marriage can be fun. Surprise, and not boring. So I have a question for you ladies. How long have you been married, and what quality attracted you the most to your spouse? Lisa, let us know.
Okay. I've said this before. I consider myself fortunate to be married to my best friend. Brian and we were in high school together, in the same graduating class. And prior to dating, we really were just really good friends. Like, we just really enjoyed each other's company, and that kind of relationship where you can it's like a mirror image of who you are as a person, and yet at the same time that friendship gives you qualities that are completely opposite of you. Brian and I this year, in just a few months, will be married 29 years.
Amazing.
And we dated for 6 years before that. So a long time.
Amazing.
You asked me his quality. I would say the biggest one, and you've both met him now, he is just a people person. Like, he genuinely enjoys having a conversation with other people, and he also has a great sense of humor. So
he's an extrovert.
Yeah, he totally is an extrovert.
Yeah.
I'm not sure he has any introvert qualities, actually. How about you, Emily?
So, similar to you, Lisa, Andrew and I were friends first before we dated, but we did not know each other in high school. I was in college when we met, and we worked at the same company, not in the same department, but our paths did cross there for the first time. And I was kind of in a season where I had dated, and I was nearing the end of graduating from college, working my way through, trying to figure out what was next. And I just kind of said no to dating for a while. Like, I just didn't need it in my life because I was just so busy with other things. And so when we met, I kind of had that mindset, like, I'm not looking for someone to date right now. And we just continued to, I guess, be friends. And we started hanging out sometimes with people from work, other times one-on-one, but it was always just friendship. And it turned into more than that when he was possibly going to move to another state, just looking for something different. And I think my mind was like, hey, wait a minute, I don't want him to leave. And then I had to pay attention to that. And so we were friends for probably a good year and a half before we actually even went on a date together. And so I just love that part of our story because we got to know each other without any of the pressure of dating, having that on my mind. And the best thing about him, what first attracted me to him, was I could just be myself with him. I could just be really comfortable being myself. And he was a great listener and paid attention to what I had to say. And he is a little bit older than me, so maybe he was a little more mature than the guys that I had previously dated. I don't know. But yeah, I could be myself with him. Did I mention 24 years? I think. I don't know if I mentioned that. We've been married 24 years.
So Jim and I were not friends, and we did not date. We met, and 3 weeks later he proposed. So I always tease him, we still have not had our first date, and we've been married 35 years. So I tell him I keep waiting for my first date. In fact, it's kind of funny. One year we were on vacation and we went to Paris, and we were in Paris. We went to the top of the Eiffel Tower at night. The whole city was sparkling, and we're standing on the top of the Eiffel Tower, And I looked into his eyes and he kissed me. And I said, this is almost a date. And he was like, really? Like the bar is higher than this? What? But it was so funny. And as far as Jim's quality that attracted me, Jim, I mean, I married up, you guys. I seriously did. Jim is a triple threat. I mean, he's a hunk. Let's just admit it. You girls have met him. And he's so smart. He was in college when I met him, and he told me he was going to be a lawyer. That didn't pan out. I mean, I always tell him, like, wow, I got gypped there, but he was wanting to be a lawyer when I met him. He's just very smart and he's funny. And so, yes, we have fun together, even still, 35 years later. So I did look up some of the biblical verses about having joy in marriage, because I believe God did design marriage not just for holiness, but for joy. Ecclesiastes 9 says, enjoy life with your wife whom you love. And in Proverbs 5, it says, let your wife be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. And if you girls have ever read Song of Solomon, Song of Songs, whatever we're calling it, it's a little saucy and playful and romantic. So I'm thinking having fun with each other is God's idea. So I'm doing the Bible recap this year, and every day she ends by saying, he's where the joy is. And it just reminds me that God is joy. He is the author of joy. And when God is in our marriage, when he's part of our marriage, joy is there. There is joy in marriage when God is in it. I think it's part of a healthy relationship. Bringing joy into any relationship, not just marriage, is healthy. So girls, I know there's some people that are listening that are kind of thinking, like, I can't even imagine having fun with my spouse. Like, I don't even like being in the same room with that person. So what do you think are like some common reasons why couples aren't having fun together anymore? What do you think, Emily?
Well, the first thing I think of is, when you're talking about joy in a relationship, and you think about when you first met your now spouse, or when you're dating, and just the excitement and the newness, and everything is just so fun. Getting to know this person, being more vulnerable and letting them get to know you is just full of sparks of energy and fun and joy. And when you've been married for any length of time, I feel like if we're not purposeful, we can stop pursuing that person the same way we did when we first met them or when we were dating. And I've heard it said like this, and this resonates for me, to continue to be a student of your husband or of your wife. Like, I'm not the same person as when Andrew met me, 26 years ago. Definitely not the same person as when we married 24 years ago. I'm constantly changing and growing and evolving into who I am. And so is he. And so just continuing to be interested in getting to know them where they are, I think adds joy and adds that spark, but it takes intention.
I agree. And I love what you said about, there's newness early on in your relationship. I mean, everything is new. Even if you've been to McDonald's, 50 times, the first time you go together, it's new because you're figuring out what they like to order. So yeah, there is that newness. And so, yeah, sometimes we just get into routines and we need to change it up because it doesn't feel new anymore. It feels very day in, day out, same old, boring. How about you, Lisa? Do you have any ideas?
Well, I think first, much like Emily, I just want to touch on you mentioned joy in a marriage. And I'm always down with a good, like, what's the neuroscience behind this? So if I'm not looking up a word in the dictionary, I'm fascinated about how the brain works. And because God wired us for connection and joy, that is literally how the brain works best. I have read that in neuroscience, when couples laugh together and have that connection and curiosity and conversations, their nervous systems actually will regulate together. And so that is just fascinating to me. And if you think about it, whether it's with your spouse or even, somebody else that you're having a conversation with or something, think about how more often than not, you will match that person's energy when that's happening. Like, I think about it too, like watching my children play in sports. Like, if you're playing a sport against another team and that other team's energy is super high, your team is going to raise their bar to meet that energy. Same with if the other team is like, want, you can see some of your own home team kind of like take a little bit of a step back because you're kind of regulating each other's nervous system. So I think that's important to remember. Like, it's just the way we are wired. So when you think about common reasons for having maybe the fun is kind of dwindling, I, from personal experience, would say if you ever find either one of you has gone through some kind of super challenging time in life, something that is traumatic, it's easy for us, as we know, to get stuck there. And so that person tends to go right into that fight or flight or freeze mode. And then you're in survival mode. And then if the other, so again, matching that energy, the other person is trying to figure that out. And so sometimes, often, both people end up stuck. One doesn't know what to do, and the other one is just stuck in the trauma. So I think that is common. And then also those like negative thought patterns, right? As we're going through different seasons and phases of our marriage, might feel like we can't go do fill in the blank because we don't have time, we don't have money, we don't have the energy, we don't like. So you kind of get in these patterns, kind of like what you were talking about, routine, except these are kind of just negatively reoccurring thought patterns about why we can't have fun.
Very true. Yes, very true. And I have been there too because I'm an emotional stuffer. I will say a recovering emotional stuffer. Yeah, there were a lot of years where I had stuffed so many negative emotions that I just kind of numbed out emotionally. And so I could not feel joy even if it had been there. I was just kind of flatlined emotionally. So I went through a season of that too. And then also, Jim and I have 5 kids. So when the kids were home and they were busy, I mean, there were times, seasons of life where we were running until 8 or 9 at night with, our girls were in musical every year. All of our kids played sports at some time or another, and just going here, there, and everywhere. I mean, there were so many years, literally was a taxi service. And, I look back now and kind of miss it, but it definitely takes a toll on connecting with your spouse. It definitely makes you more tired, so that, Saturday comes and you don't want to go on a road trip. You just want to chill out and recuperate. So there are seasons of life when you go through that. But even in that, and we'll talk about this too, even in that, Jim and I found ways to come together. So I thought it'd be fun if we talk about some ways to make marriage fun again. Have a bunch of ideas here. So the first one is dates, play dates, romantic dates. What kinds of dates are you guys go out fancy at night? Are you more like day date, lunch, coffee shop kind of people? What do you guys like to do for date, day or night?
I think I've mentioned this on a recent episode. Anytime Andrew and I can go get a meal together, whether that's a lunch date or a dinner date or even coffee, if we can sit across the table from each other, away from our environment of being at home, it just fosters really great connection. Sometimes we have deep conversations. Other times it's just again, looking at each other across the table and remembering to put our relationship in a higher priority. So we love that. And for us, it's not necessarily always fancy. It can be a coffee date, and he loves to go thrifting with me most of the time. He's actually learning to love it more than he used to. We like to go for long walks. I feel like taking walks together just fosters a different kind of conversation because we're side by side versus face to face. And then another fun one for us, if we don't want to go out, but we want to spend time together, especially like on a weekend, this is kind of fun and quirky. We love to rearrange furniture together. And it's so much fun when you can turn on the tunes to the old 80s and 90s tunes. Pandora has some amazing playlists with like Bon Jovi and Chicago radio and Peter Cetera, right? Like just sing along and enjoy that time of rearranging furniture, shopping our own house, kind of making the environment new and different. That has been something really fun for us. And it's free.
That is one I have not heard before. Rearranging furniture as a date. I don't know if Jim would be on board with that, but I'm moving in another week. So maybe you and Andrew can come and dance my furniture around. That would be really helpful. Lisa, what do you guys do for dates?
So, first, I want to just back up. When you mentioned that you and Jim, like during that season of you feel like you live in your car because you're just constantly going from one event to the next event, or especially with 5 kids, I only have 2, and it felt like I was always transporting, going someplace, that you intentionally would still make even those seasons of your life fun. And so I just wanted to circle back to that because I think that deserves like a second, like to repeat again. Like for those listening that are where we were 10 years ago, to be intentional in those, okay, we're back in the car again. We're back in the pickup line at school. We're back traveling for, I don't know, a sport or any of those type of things where you're almost feeling robotic because you're like, okay, here we go again. Like you've done it so many times. Sometimes I would feel like Brian and I were like a well-oiled machine. Like he had his things he would get together. I had my things I would get together. Of course, the kids had their responsibilities, but you just like went through this like well orchestrated dance move, right? And then you also said, Angela, but I miss it. Like it was like a tagline when you said it. I think it's so important. If anyone is listening who's in that season right now, you will miss it. Like you will totally miss it. I promise
Sure.
you will miss it. And so here I am in my, what I'm embracingly calling my messy middle of life. And the intention that I'm doing now to just be mindfully present in my life, like that, do that when all that Ubering and robotic life is happening and you feel like, oh, I'm just disconnected from the other person, because chances are you're both feeling that way. So if you just paused and, I don't know, broke into, like Emily said, like put on your music, broke into something, or just paused and like, I don't know, smooched each other, gave each other a hug. Like the lunches are still going to get made. You still have to pick up so and so from this place to take them to that appointment, but like just be present with each other. I think that is so important. And so in doing that, to answer like the question about like practical ways, I'm going to just stick to like serious practical ways. Like just don't overthink it. Like I am being better at, because as you mentioned, my husband is definitely an extrovert. So if he says, hey, you want to go fill in the blank, I am not an extrovert and I like to stay home. I'm a homebody. I like to just, it's easy for me to be like, no, I'm good. So I'm learning to say yes more, because that's where the quote unquote fun comes from for those, even if it's not a date per se, like you didn't make it or intend for it to be a date, but suddenly you find yourself on top of the Eiffel Tower with twinkling lights and a romantic moment. I don't know. Like, that's pretty priceless. You can't, like, you couldn't have planned that even
Right.
better. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
just being in the moment, whether it's we have to go to Costco. Okay, how am I going to make this fun? Like, I can make this fun. I can decide, ugh, I don't want to go, which is usually the feeling. Or if my husband comes with me, we're going to make it fun. So
I love
just,
it.
I think, yeah, I don't think we have to overthink it so much with how do we have fun with each other.
Yeah. You can be standing at the grill together, flipping the tube steaks over and be like, here we are having a date.
Or rearranging furniture. I mean,
Yeah.
like you're spending time together, right? It can be anything. And the impromptu dates, I think, are the best. That's what I have found. Like, it's fun to have something on the calendar and to look forward to it, maybe try a new restaurant. But for us, I feel like that spontaneous, hey, we have a window of time. Do you want to go grab lunch? Or let's go, like you said, let's go to Costco together instead of me going by myself. Like, making anything into date time, I think that's where it's really fun. It's been fun for us, the spontaneity of it.
Yeah.
I
So
think
when,
sometimes you're just being with each other. Like, it,
yeah.
Angela sent us a picture not so long ago of her and Jim just enjoying your lake view. Like, just being in the same place at the same time that you don't even have to talk. Like, you just, that
Yeah.
connection is still there.
Yeah, when the kids were
Just
little, sometimes it was just sitting next to each other in church. Like that felt
Mhm.
more connected than we had been all week. And just to reach over and hold his hand, while we listened was, kind of just that moment of, here we are. We're next to each other. It's okay, and didn't cost any money to do that. So when our kids were all home, I love to cook. I love to try new recipes. And this was like right when Food Network came out, and I was loving Food Network. And so in the mornings, I would be on my treadmill and watching Food Network, and I would plan something to fix for Friday night. So Friday night, when the kids were home, was always our home date night. And I would cook. Jim would come home. I would make we would either get pizza for the kids. Jim would stop and pick up pizza on his way home, or I would just fix something for them. And that was special for them too, because that was like their movie night. They got to go to the basement, watch a movie. Sometimes they would have a friend over or whatever. And I would make home dates for Jim. And I mean, sometimes super fancy 4-course dinners, sometimes just something new that we hadn't tried before. And it was so fun. We still talk about all our home dates. We had so much fun doing that. And then as the kids got older and were kind of on their own, they could drive and all of that, Jim and I had like our spot where we would go. That became really special to us too, because it was kind of our cheers. Everybody knew our names. So when we would walk in, they just knew where we liked to sit. They knew who we were. We always had our favorite waiter, and we knew the general manager really well of that restaurant. So it was just a really fun season of going out and enjoying, our favorite place. So I have several friends in this stage of life whose husbands play golf. And now that their kids are grown, they are taking golf lessons. So they can do day dates, golfing day dates with their husband. And so that is on my list. I am going to take golf lessons probably sooner than later. I'm super excited to do that. So one of the things I said about Jim that first attracted me to him was how funny he was. And we love to watch funny movies and do things. And you guys know one of the things Jim and I do literally every single night when he gets home from work is we play cards. We play 4 hands of rummy every night. We keep a scorebook, and it's just this tiny little notepad that fits 4 games on there. And if you win all 4, like 4 nights in a row, you get a star on that page. So we even have like our little code, our key code of you get like an emoji basically on the page. And it's such a bummer when you win 3 and then lose the 4th one. It's such a bummer. But this is what we do. I said to him one night, I'm like, we are like old people playing cards before dinner every night. But I love it. So, and I love, Emily, that you talked about music, because Jim and I, we love making our playlists and dancing. We have spontaneous dance parties probably 2 or 3 nights a week. We love dancing and turning on music. And Lisa, you and Brian, when I saw you together, that is one of the things that I noticed. You guys love to laugh together. It seems like you guys have little inside jokes. Like you're always looking at each other and kind of like cracking up. I'm like, what are they saying? But it just seems like you guys love to laugh together.
I think, I mean, yes, you are correct. And I think that I'm going to give a lot of that credit to my husband because, again, he just has a sense of humor that I will also admit sometimes I might give him a look that's more of a side eye look, like, oh my goodness, could you graduate out of being perpetually 16 years old with that kind of humor? But at the same time, we enjoy laughing together about the most ridiculous things. And sometimes I have found since coaching that instead of getting frustrated at something that I'm trying to change about him, surprise, now I know that's definitely never going to work. Okay, good to know. I mean, I knew that years ago, but you keep trying. And now I'm like, it kind of like when an emotion comes up and I'm like, oh, okay, here you are, fear or whatever. When he does something that would typically just make me be like, are you for real right now? And then get all angry and dysregulated. I seriously just see the humor in it. And then we'll make a joke about it. Or so it wouldn't surprise me if sometimes you might have seen us looking at each other because I'm like, yeah, I've been there before. like here we are again. We're going to talk about this. Okay. Heard that one 15 times. But yes, dear, tell that story again. I would love to hear it again. But laughing is contagious.
And you know what? I have to say this about what you just said is when you released the control to change him and you let him be him, you were laughing more and having more joy and more fun.
1000%.
I love that. I love that so much. Emily.
And one of the things let me just say, one of the things you talked about with your dancing and like playlists and things like that. One of the things Brian and I will sometimes just fall into, not planned, is pulling. Do you remember the MTV days? When you could actually watch music television? Yeah. So we will pull up on YouTube like our favorite songs that still like those old
the music videos.
Yes. And
That's
so we'll just sit with YouTube on our TV and be like just like kind of nostalgic. And if we're really nostalgic and maybe a few drinks are involved, we might even like pull out a photo album or like walks down memory lane. But music and laughter are for sure two easy ways.
Love it. Emily, how do you and Andrew find ways to laugh together?
Oh, we definitely have our share of inside jokes that only between us would anybody know what we're talking about. Even if you tried to explain it, nobody else would get it. We do like to share funny memes with each other or, send cute little text messages back and forth, kind of flirty text messages just in the middle of the day. I feel like we sometimes even have like our own language. Like there's words that we've made up, and we kind of included our kids in this too. So my youngest just got married, and our son-in-law wonders sometimes if he's like, what are they even talking about? Because we'll have nicknames for each other or words that we use that all 4 of us know, but we kind of have to explain it to him. And sometimes he gets it and sometimes he doesn't. But we just add that level of goofiness.
I love it.
That brings laughter like intimate laughter because nobody else really gets it, but we do. Either it's just me and Andrew or the four of us and our girls. And now our son-in-law gets in on a little bit too. But yeah, I feel like choosing to laugh, especially when you could choose to be irritated, like that's what it is. It's a choice. Like you have to make a mindful step in that direction because it's not always easy. Like being with someone for as long as we have been, right? Of course, there are going to be irritations when you live with the same person in the same house day after day after day. So I love that both of you hit on that. We have a choice. We can choose to stay irritated, which only stirs up all those negative feelings in us, or we can choose to be lighthearted and choose laughter.
Yeah, I love
Great
it.
reminder.
So, one other thing that Jim and I love to do is dream of things to do together, kind of bucket list style. I have some things that I would love to do in life. We have a lot of friends right now that are kind of just on the beginning of retirement and, dreaming about taking a big vacation together. In fact, we have friends that every other year they do a big vacation with all their kids and grandkids. And this year, what they did is they said, okay, at Christmas, everyone has to come and do a PowerPoint on where they want to go, and they have to sell it to the family. And even the grandkids got involved, and everybody made a PowerPoint of where they wanted to go, all the things that they could do. They had a budget to work in. This is the budget of the trip, and everybody presented, and then the whole family voted. And then whichever vacation got the most votes, that's what they planned, and that's where they went. So what a fun way to take something that's already fun and just like next level it, right? And then a lot of people will buy an RV and go road tripping. Like my parents have a fifth wheel and they have been taking different road trips every year, going to see new places, and they just love it. They'll go for a month, 6 weeks at a time. Some people dream about moving to a new city or even a new state. Just having those things that you dream about together, I think, is so fun. Lisa, do you have anything to add to the bucket list?
That's actually something I wish Brian and I did actually more of, is dream bigger together instead of random, hey, wouldn't it be nice too? That seems to be more of our MO. So, but when it comes to a bucket list things, I think we're just getting to that stage of our life. So, yeah, I think it's something that we need to work on right now.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great to notice. Might be a fun date night to start talking about some of those things.
Well, and actually to be excited about it. Like I'm kind of excited to have those conversations. And, you mentioned like RVing, like that is actually something Brian has talked about in conversation, even with other people, except neither one of us have like taken it to how are we going to make this happen? Like, let's take it to the next level. Like, let's create that PowerPoint and figure out how we're going to make this a reality. So it's actually kind of exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It's fun to talk about. Jim and I went to a concert not last month, it was earlier this summer. And that just sparked in us, we want to go to more concerts. And if going to see the band or person that we want to see involves an airplane, let's do it. I mean, let's YOLO this life. And so it really sparked something in us. So sometimes if you're in a place where, like we talked about earlier, you're just having trouble being in the same room with your spouse and you can't think of anything fun to do together, I suggest that you invite God into it. Ask God to show you little things that you can be thankful for, things that will make you smile. Like Lisa shared, letting your spouse be himself instead of judging the way he's making a joke or whatever, just looking at it as there he is being him again and laughing right along with him. Ask God to show you some of those things. And I had someone say one time that their husband would always like wad up their socks in these tight little balls and put them in the laundry hamper. And she was like, why do you do this? Like, do you know that I have to like pull them apart every time before I wash them? Why does he do this? This is so crazy. Like, is he trying to make extra work for me? I hate this. I'm always having to pull his dirty, smelly socks apart. This is crazy. Well, then one day she walked in the room and she saw him on purpose put his sock in a little ball, and he was shooting hoops from across the room to get the sock into the hamper. And then she realized, like, he's just having fun putting his laundry in the hamper. And oh yeah, I'm married to a guy who puts his laundry in the hamper. Like, amen to that. So just ask God to show you little things that you can appreciate and find joy in with your spouse. So I don't know if you guys have ever been
That's a great resource.
What's that?
Sorry to interrupt you there. I have a great resource as you were talking about inviting God into the marriage. I have a book that was gifted to me by my mom at one of my bridal showers 24 years ago, and it's called The Power of a Praying Wife. And it's by Stormy O'Martian. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I try and gift that to any bridal shower that I go to the bride, because it's just shifts your perspective on all of those little things, all of the ways you want to change your husband. And it has prayers after each chapter. And so you could just, and the first chapter is praying for God to reveal anything in you, like make you the wife that your husband needs. So, humbling yourself before God first and saying, what can I do? And then surrendering every aspect of your husband and his life to the Lord. I have found that has been the best thing for me if I have a stinky attitude towards any irritations I might have about my husband, to maybe look up a chapter on that specific thing and pray that for him. It just helps me to remember he's just another human trying to figure it out, and he's not perfect. And like Lisa said, reminding myself it's not my job to fix him. If God wants to change him, that's going to be God's job, not mine. So that's a great resource, The Power of a Praying Wife. And she also has books for praying for your children, praying for your adult children. So I think the whole series is very, very helpful.
I can second that. I've prayed through that book many, many times.
I would say to remind people what you both have said about the not wanting to change them, but also I think it was Emily that said we're all changing. Like, none of us are the same exact people that we were when we first met our husbands. We're different now. And so I think you called it like a student of your marriage, and I love that. But to remember that, because I know the common phrase is a work in progress, but I like to call it a work in process. Like, we're all walking our own lives, and if in marriage we're walking alongside somebody else, to remember to meet them with curiosity and the respect that we want in return. You know what I mean? When I talked earlier about it is common, unfortunately, in marriages for things to just feel disconnected, to feel broken, to feel like we need support, and not to be to shy away from seeking that. Like, if you need the support, to seek the support, whether it's counseling from your pastor or your church or a therapist or life coaching, obviously, but to just embrace that, because sometimes it's not just the other person, it's also within ourselves. And as a coach, I just want to remind others as well as myself that if you're going through something with your spouse and there's healing happening from something, that it is possible for two things to be happening simultaneously. Like, it's possible and human to feel both, I'm healing from something that's hurtful and there's joy in my marriage. Both of those can coexist together. So I just wanted to if we had an opportunity to just remind people, like, yes, of course, this podcast is going to be all about all the fun things we can do with each other, but also, like, we've all been married a few more decades than the next person. And Angela, even longer than Emily and I. And I think we made it clear that there are times when we have to intentionally be there.
Yeah.
First for ourselves and then for the other person. So if you need that support, I'm just reminding people, like, go get it. Go
Yes.
get it, sister, because we're all here to help each other.
We have had professional help
Yeah,
before.
I agree.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And even times when Jim wasn't in a place where he wanted to go, and I still got the help that I needed, and it made everything better. Just even it only takes one person to change for everything to change. So yeah.
I love that.
Right. And on a practical level, too, I feel like even today, if you're feeling disconnected from your spouse, what's one little thing you can do to move towards connection? So when Angela was talking about sitting next to Jim in church during the busy season of parenting, like even just making sure that it's not your husband and then all 5 kids and then you on the other side, like positioning yourself to purposely sit next to your husband. That's a move towards connection. Even if you don't hold hands, even if he may not even notice, right? But like instead of focusing on the disconnection, focus on little ways, tiny little things you can do to feel connected. And instead of focusing on what's wrong, ask yourself, what's actually going right? What am I thankful for in this marriage? So those are even little shifts, just like mindset shifts that you can take today, either on your way to seeking help or, just to bridge that gap of creating more connection, because we create the connection.
So good. Yes, I love that. So, in closing, I just want to say that we would love to hear what fun things you love to do. If you're going to try something new, look us up on Instagram at the Life Coach Lounge and send us a message. We would love to hear what fun thing you're doing this week in your marriage. Thank you so much for joining us today. If something resonated with you, please hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who might need to hear it. We are on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube now. We would love for you to connect with us on Instagram at the Life Coach Lounge, or you can reach out to us individually through Instagram. All our links are in the show notes. Until next time, we're so grateful to walk alongside you on this journey. We'll see you next time in the lounge. And girls, I'll see you later in the Marcos.